Hey, everybody. I pray that everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. We want to thank you for sharing and spending an hour with us as we're starting something tonight called We Night, Wednesday Empowerment Night. We believe that ministry must not just deal with one aspect of our lives, but it must be holistic, deal with the entire lives. And so we have graciously asked two of our members who are major people in their own right, Dr. Bernice Croskey and Dr. Martine Francois. And so if somebody got a question in Creole, Sister Francois is going to be able to handle it because we've taken her to Haiti, and Sister Cross has been to Haiti with us as well. And so we're excited about tonight and this Wednesday empowerment, this wee night. Rev, you got anything you want to add?
Good evening, everyone, and I'm so glad that Drs. Croskey and Martine Dr. Francois has joined us. I'm glad that they've joined us. I'm glad that you've joined us. Please share this time together in your social media platforms so others can be blessed by it. We want to just have a nice, robust dialogue. We want to just get real with each other, talk about some things. So thank you, Pastor, for this vision, and thank you, ladies, for joining us. I'm already blessed by this experience.
I want to thank the tech team in the background. Y'all not going to see them, but they're working hard. I want y'all to know that depression, stress, anxiety is not something new, and it's not something that we just face today, but there are several biblical examples of persons dealing with crisis. One in particular is found in the Old Testament, 1 Kings chapter 19. It's an amazing story. One of my favorite biblical characters, Elijah, who he's just had a great victory. He's seen God move in his life in great and wonderful and marvelous ways. He's seen God defeat the enemy. But as soon as that happens, he goes into a major depression and finds himself wrestling with, does he really want to kill himself, commit suicide? And so this man of God, this preacher, this prophet, dealing with all of these emotions, just had a great victory, but still finds himself depressed. And so I don't want us to think that it's, as the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. So some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight are not just new to us, but they've been around for a long time. But you've often heard me say that you can have Jesus and a therapist.
Amen.
You can have Jesus and a therapist. I want to say it one more time for the Holy Ghost. You can have Jesus and a therapist. And we want to kind of break the stigma that particularly people of color have in going to see someone. I say it all the time. You need somebody to help you unpack your
stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I was going to say something else, but
stuff.
Yeah, we got kids. So yeah, stuff. So I want us to have an open dialogue. We want you to ask questions. If you are not comfortable putting your question in the chat, please email the church, theemmanueltemple@aol.com, and then we won't reveal who you are, who the question came from, but we'll still present the question and hopefully have this great dialogue.
Yeah, don't miss this opportunity to enter into a dialogue, to get real questions asked, real issues discussed. It's a conversation, so please make the most of this time that we have together. I think, Pastor, that we are in a time where we have many layers of different layers of situations. Any one of them could have caused us to feel sad or depressed or down or anxious. But we have multiple things going on right now in our world, and we as people of color are right in the center of the multiplicity of things that are happening right now. So I applaud that. I applaud your vision. I'm grateful for how God has used you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from our guests tonight, and maybe would you like? Can we have them start by just kind of giving a little bit of an introduction of themselves?
Well, yeah, Sister Croskey. So, Dr. Croskey, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been practicing, what areas you focus on, and then we'll ask the same question to Dr. Francois.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I've been practicing in the field of mental health actually for over 25 years. It's been a wonderful experience because it has given me an opportunity to really address the needs of others. Now, I started out in the administrative area, and I think actually that was not my true calling. I think that God really wanted me to be over in the area where I can impact people's lives more directly than I could at the administrative level. This is an area where I can really see that I'm making a difference in individuals' lives. Doing this the 25 plus years, I've seen people grow. I work with populations starting from the age of 4 up until the elderly to 90. So it's been a great experience seeing people grow emotionally to be able to deal with some of the issues that they're experiencing in their lives. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for me to be in this field, and particularly at this particular time, because we're faced so much with so much, as you and Reverend Maria has said just a few minutes ago. We are faced with so many things that are happening in our lives all at once. And it's impacting people from a mental and emotional perspective as well. And we really have to come to grips with that. So I'm just happy about the opportunity for us to be able to discuss some things tonight, particularly the situation relative to COVID-19, as well as the situation involving the death of Mr. Floyd.
Okay, Dr. Francois.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And I think Dr. Croskey and I share the same career paths in terms of the length of time being in practice. I've been in this field for over 22 years. And like her, I've also worked in the administrative level. And what I took from that was being able to supervise and nurture the new therapists coming in and really kind of guide and support them in terms of understanding that the Black culture is different, understanding that the Caribbean culture is different, and their understanding or the stigma with mental health is the challenge, is the first barrier to kind of address when we're trying to get this group of people to come in and understand that being labeled, referred for mental health services doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means something is happening with you that you don't understand, and that somebody else who may at times look like you, may come from the same country as you, will be able to kind of help you filter through some of these challenges. And what really excited me to be here this evening is that back in New York, I had the opportunity to be the administrator for a grant funded program called Caribbean Mental Health. And that statement, that was a huge eye-opening challenge, because at the time in Brooklyn, we had a section of the Caribbean population who were being referred for mental health services and were not going to the traditional ones. So so they created this one specific for the Caribbean population. And once the referrals coming in, the stigma was what we had to address. And what I'm finding that here it is almost 16 years later that I've been living in Florida, I still find the same barriers and same challenges to try to pick through and help people understand that people who are here to help you, we just need to hear your story. We just need to hear your narrative so we could help you rewrite some of these challenges that you don't understand.
I think that's a good place to start. Can you both address to our audience, those who are with us right now, any concerns they may have about stigma? What can you tell them? How can you help them redirect or reconceive that idea of a stigma?
I think for me, one of the things that I do that makes it easier for patients that I see to accept receiving mental health services, because I know the stigma there. I use the approach that having a mental illness or an emotional problem is a medical condition that you need to get treatment for. The same as you, if you having a problem with your blood pressure, you're hypertensive, you're diabetic, that this is the same thing. That's if you're diagnosed with a mental health diagnosis, if you're depressed, if you're bipolar, whatever your diagnosis is, it's a medical diagnosis, and it's important that you get treatment. Once I tend to do that, and I kind of take it away from just being strictly mental. When I say that, people get kind of nervous. But if I tell them that it is a health condition, a medical condition, it makes it easier for people to receive and be able to address it. Now, even though we still have a stigma dealing with mental health issues in the Black community and in the Caribbean community as well, I think that the stigma is not as great for me as it was, at least in my office, in terms of the people that I'm seeing. It's not as great as it was, I would say, 20 years ago when I was seeing clients. There's a tremendous difference. I find people accepting it more, but still not to the extent that we need to accept it. We need our people to understand that it's okay to say that I suffer from depression. It's okay to say that I'm bipolar, and to understand that, and to be able to accept treatment. So the barrier for us, and the problem we're always having, is trying to make sure that we get them to that point that they can fully accept that I have a problem. And because I say that I'm depressed, I'm not crazy. Because I'm bipolar, I'm not crazy.
Right.
So I hear you saying, Sister Dr. Croskey, how important it is to get away from that word crazy. And I think that one of the issues that we have in our community is that mental may make people associate that with crazy. But I love how you're talking about a medical condition. And I'm sitting here with this broken wrist. Can you talk about the idea, or I guess I can address this to Dr. Francois. Can you talk about the idea that we're talking about a health condition, that whatever the diagnosis is, sometimes they may not be a perpetual situation. You know, it may be something you get treatment for, and then can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think one of the problems is with the stigma is that we may feel that once there is that label, there's always that label.
Right. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that really try to stay away from diagnosing. We may already know what some of the signs and symptoms are, and we could, as a clinician, we could say, okay, I think she's suffering with depression, but that is not the title that that person is ready to hear right now. So in the assessment phase and just getting down to, hey, they told me to call you and I was referred to you. They say I have depression. I said, well, I didn't say you have depression. Tell me, what are you feeling? Let's talk about some of the signs, some of the symptoms when you woke up this morning. So really starting a general conversation, getting them to be comfortable to just be able to talk to you about, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is what I felt yesterday. And I said, you know what? It sounds like you have some challenges. How about you come in and let's explore this further? And I think one of the big barriers was that the labels, the diagnoses were the things that were hindering from my experience. And like Dr. Croskey said, it's really taking that piece away and getting the individual to just share the signs and the symptoms, and looking how long they've been having those experiences. That would kind of open the door to further explore what is happening with them.
Okay, I want everybody to know that you can send your questions in the chat, or if you're not comfortable putting your name there, email them to me directly at theemmanueltemple@AOL, and we will share your questions. We want to hear more from you. We want to hear about questions. I'm so grateful for Dr. Francois and Dr. Croskey giving up their time. And they've got clients, and Dr. Croskey has shared that she's now moved in telehealth. Sister Croskey, can you talk about how that's a different experience for you? So someone doesn't have to physically come into your office because they may feel, not necessarily that comfortable, but you still offer telehealth services, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Telehealth has been out here in our profession for a while. Um, some professionals have been using it probably quite a bit. I personally was not using it at all in my office, but when we got hit with COVID-19, I didn't have a choice, and it put me in the arena because we did have clients that could not, well, our clients could not come because the government shut down everything. So people had to stay within their homes, but it didn't change the fact that there were issues and problems that people were experiencing. And the impact of COVID-19 began to increase individuals' emotional issues. If they were depressed, then their depressive symptoms became heightened. If they were in need of medication, sometimes there was a need to have medications altered, increased, changed. And I was put in a position where I needed to be able to access my clients. So coming with the whole arena of telehealth really put my clients at ease. They're able to talk with me. They're able to see me. I'm able to see them. And I'm able to address, because I can look at my clients. I'm very close to their faces. So I'm able to see if there's some level of distress that's there. I'm able to assess that and make the appropriate clinical decision that would be in their best interest. It may be that I need to get you in to see the doctor, who will also see them via telehealth, but they can see the doctor very quickly, be able to get their address, and be able to be able to adjust to the issues that they must face as we deal with this pandemic.
Okay, so Sister Croskey, first question we want to ask you, and then Rev Maria's going to ask Dr. Martine the second question. Are there different types or degrees or levels of depression?
Yes, there are different types and degrees of depression that exist. One thing I want to say is that, and everybody suffers from depression. I don't know anyone.
Say that again, Dr. Croskey.
Everyone suffer from some degree of depression.
Okay, say it one more time so the people in the back can hear you.
Everyone suffers from some degree of depression.
Now,
absolutely.
Someone to our office, to my office, and Dr. Martine's office, may be that their depression has moved to a level that it's what we call clinical depression, which means that it's not something that they feel today. I'm feeling a little blue today. It goes beyond feeling blue. It goes, what I say, to feeling black. When I say black, it means that there's a darkness. The feeling I'm in a dark place. I'm in a hole. No one can penetrate this and get to me. Feeling empty and feeling alone. Feeling wanting to not be around others, and that moves into clinical depression. So that is a different type of depression that needs a different type of intervention versus someone who may be feeling a little blue, which we all feel that. We all feel that.
Okay.
So the other question, well, can I ask a follow-up question to
Sure.
that? So while we're talking about depression, and we can go to these other questions, and I'm so grateful, keep putting your questions in the chat or send them to theemmanueltemple@aol.com. Sister Croskey, if I am the person who, as you said, we all feel depression at some time, how do I know when I need to talk to someone? How do I know what signs or what should I be doing to get to the point where, okay, I'm not worried about the stigma, but how do I know now is the time to seek help?
Okay. How one can tell whether it's time to move beyond just staying at home and dealing with your depressive feelings is that if this is a feeling that is continuing consistently over a period of 2 weeks, every day that you are feeling this way, you're becoming more and more withdrawn. not wanting to be around people. There may be a change in appetite. There may be a change in your sleep. You may become restless, having not being able to go to sleep at all, or having periods that you're waking during the night, not able to return back into a sleep state. Not really.
Okay. Sister.
Dr. Francois, do you want to pick up?
Yes, I think she was.
Just,
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
really, just feeling really completely detached from individuals or from a situation, and just really feeling that this is a time and that this is the time then when you really need to reach out, is when you feel you're moving into the hole and I'm feeling all alone. That's the time that you really need to be reaching out, that maybe I need to call someone.
Sister, Dr. Martine, you want to add anything to that?
I think Dr. Croskey hit it on the nose. I mean, these are what we call the signs and symptoms that you will know that this is different from me. I'm not usually this way, especially if these signs and symptoms are impacting your work, where you feel like it's hard for you to get up and get to work, or when you do get to work, you're sitting there, you just can't do anything, impacting your home life, affecting your relationship with your children, your husband, your wife. And they themselves are saying, this something is going on with you. This is not you. That is really the time that you seek help and talk to somebody.
Okay.
All right. So here's a question. How do you respond in healthy ways with regards to the George Floyd death when you are angry about his and other deaths? How do you respond, particularly in the environment of your workplace?
That's good. I'd like to take a shot at it if I can. Today, I have a young man and his wife in my office, and he immediately wanted to go to that particular subject, and that's what we did. And I, as a professional, and I think I need to say this, people sometimes feel that we as therapists really don't feel the same way as others, that we do not have problems coping with issues, life issues.
They think the same thing about preachers.
Sister Croskey, Red Maria said they think the same thing about preachers, and she ain't never lied.
We're just as impacted by COVID-19 as anyone, the patient that we see. We are just as impacted by the disturbing murder of Mr. Floyd. So I have problems sometimes when I'm addressing those issues to maintain my composure when I'm speaking with a man that presents himself in my office that's very angry. And it's okay to express that anger, and helping people to know it's okay that we need to express our anger. We need to get the anger out, but we need to get it out as much as possible in healthy ways that will not be detrimental to us personally, that will not be detrimental to our children, and will not be detrimental to our community.
So, Dr. Martine, can you talk about healthy ways? What are healthy ways we can get that out?
Well, I think what we are seeing now is that people have more of a voice and they want to express it. And again, we don't want to lose our jobs, especially since we're re-entering the workforce. We're able to get back to work. But it's to think within yourself, what do I want to say? If I want to speak to my boss who happens to be white and I want to let her know I am angry, what do I want her to know? What do I want to say? What language do I want to use? And I would encourage people to perhaps write it down. Sometimes you get the thoughts out of your head and put it down on paper and you read it yourself and you could revise it. Okay, I got all the angry words out, all the curse words I want to say to her. I know that I can't say. So let me take them out and just say, I am angry. I'm upset today. So if you call me and I'm not answering for 10 minutes, please understand these are the reasons why. It's to let them know, express your feelings, but we just got to be very careful in terms of how we do it. where we don't want to express any violence, but we do want to have that verbal communication. And if we know, if we have a relationship with our bosses, then we can do that. And if not, then we may write it down, send an email, but be very careful in terms of what are we expressing. Or call up a friend and talk to that person first, and let the anger out on them, and then say, okay, you want to talk to your boss, but how about you revise what you're going to say?
Where Maria often says that there's a way to say everything you want to say. And
Yes.
so that's basically what you're saying. But can you talk about, Dr. Martine, we're seeing a lot of persons losing their job based on their social media posts.
Yes.
And so, you know, there's a lot of people who don't look like us are saying very negative, derogatory things, and some of them have are surfacing from years ago, and some of this recent. I often tell members, so that's why some members, I believe, don't let me follow them on social media, because they know I'm gonna check them. We're not gonna call any names, but they know what I'm talking about.
Don't call.
So I think I'm very concerned about us and our social media use.
Yes.
That it can come back to haunt us by some of the posts that we're posting. And so can you talk about that a little bit more, about writing stuff down? Maria's a big journalist, so, you know, everybody's heard me, my famous quote, you know, when the Lord takes her home, we pray it ain't no time soon. Her girlfriend's gonna come man to the house. Excuse me, go straight to the bedroom. They know where all of the journals are. They're gonna need big bags, because they're gonna need, matter of fact, they're gonna need trunks, journals, because then they'll be leaving the house, and whatever she told them to do, blow them up or whatever she told them to do with the journal. So can you talk about that a little bit more?
I think we all need to understand that our behavior has consequences. So when we are reading certain posts and we want to answer, I think we need to step back, take a moment, take a deep breath, and you know, think within yourselves. You know, I'm reading this post, I am so angry, I want to reply, and this is what I want to say. And with social media, once it's out there, it's out there. And I think we need to understand and recognize that as well. And again, if you want to respond, and understanding what are the consequences of my response. Will my boss see it on Facebook and I go in the next morning and I no longer have a job, or will I lose friends? And if you are okay with those kind of consequences because you are so strong and passionate about what you want to say, then you're gonna have to own it. But I think we all at this heightened moment in time that we got to be careful. What are we liking and praising as a good post? Because even that little act could lead you in some kind of issues as well. But it's really taking the time to take a deep breath and just look at, okay, this is what I want to say, but let me just take a moment before I reply or before I post something.
You know, Dr. Francois, I think you bring up a good point, because I know that some younger people in particular, but not just younger people, will be like, this is my truth, this is how I feel, and I must post it. And I don't hear you saying that you can't post, but that if you are posting, make sure that you are aware of the consequences. And I just want to kind of just throw in my 2 cents that while we have obviously a righteous indignation and truth is on our side, we are still in an environment where the powers that be are still at work against us. So I love that you said you haven't told anyone not to post, but to think about the consequences of what it is, what consequences you may face in posting, so that you're not blindsided that, you know what, your anger didn't change the environment that we're in right now. It didn't change overnight, and those consequences can come back and affect you.
My dad would say, don't give people bullets to shoot you with.
That's awesome. Yes.
So
they're killing us without
they're killing us without bullets. So Croskey, I want to hear more of, you talked about the conversation you had recently with a client who wanted to express the pain and the anger and the frustration about all that they're seeing from in Minneapolis and basically all over the world. Are you seeing more people want to talk about that recently? And then how are you helping them to deal with those things?
Yes, I am seeing more people who are dealing with that issue. I can't think of, I think out of all the clients or patients that I may see within a week, let's say on a given day, let's say if I saw 10 people, out of that 10 people, 8 of them will be addressing the issues that are going on in our
Wow.
country.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
how they feel about it, that they're not able to sleep, that they're angry, that they're depressed. The depression rate is going up sky high because of what happened with the death of Mr. Floyd and with the pandemic. All of those things together has caused a horrendous problem in our community, you know, in terms of mental health.
Okay, everybody, we are at the halfway point. And so I need everyone to share the feed so others can be blessed by this conversation that we're having on mental health with these two great therapists, Dr. Martine Francois, Dr. Bernice Croskey. And so if you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to put Sister Croskey's information up as well for those who want to contact her private. They take all insurances, and they also, when you do your copay, they want good. They want cash or your debit card. They don't want no check. They may be bouncing just because they're not playing basketball. Okay, you want to say something?
I do. I want to talk about, because I want to try and keep it real. I want to talk about, we did talk about a little bit about, I know, we talked a little bit about the healthy things to do, but I want to keep it real. And let's talk about the things that we might be tempted to do or actually doing that are not so healthy. Because I think that there may be some things that we do that we know are not particularly healthy for us, but we engage a little bit. But in moments like this, we may be talking about Tanqueray, Alizé, E&J.
3 times.
3 times a day. But now we might be amping it up. So can we talk about those things? Because society will tell us, "Ooh, I had a hard day. Let me go get a drink."
Yeah.
I had a hard day. Let me get a drink. Sometimes the media, I'm talking about movies and different things, will normalize different behaviors that probably aren't the healthiest or the best. So can we talk about some of those things and how to counter those urges maybe? I'm not sure.
Dr. Martine, I want to start with you.
Sure. I think, you know, during the pandemic, we're stuck at home, so we're watching more television, and the commercials always show even people clinking glasses against the tube to just show, hey, I'm still drinking with you. And of course, Total Wine stayed open forever. They never closed.
My
So
Lord,
their
listen.
wine,
My Lord, listen.
The church is closed, but Total Wine stayed open.
But
Total Wine
is
said they
still
were
open.
essential workers. Total Wine
They
said
were
they were
essential workers.
Lord Jesus.
And it is those essential workers that help, because when the increase in drinking, it just really increased your level of depression. It increased your ability to mask some of the symptoms that you are feeling. It increased your ability to make the wrong decisions. We find people that had a client who told me that even though it was during the pandemic, but after X amount of glass of wine, she was letting certain friends in to visit because she was too lonely, forgetting the whole purpose of quarantine is to protect yourself, and yet she exposed herself because of those negative behaviors with the drinking and smoking as well, just in a way to kind of numb the feeling and numb the loneliness. And it is those kind of behaviors that are now the consequences we are seeing now. I have clients who are telling me, you know, during the pandemic, this is what I did, and this I address my issues, and I now realize that I may have put myself at risk.
And I think that part of what I find people are feeling too is that because of that strong sense of loneliness and being enclosed and not having human contact, some people must have human contact. They just cannot live without it. And they find themselves drinking. And as Dr. Martine has said, that leads to other destructive kinds of behaviors and potential problems that will impact them.
Absolutely.
Okay, you got a question, Brittany?
No, I wanted to just talk about that. I didn't want to let that slide by because, like I said, I know that that's real. And so when you have found someone who's going through these alternate or even sometimes things that would be put them in more risk, how do you speak to them in that moment? How, if someone with us right now is going through that, what would you be saying to them?
Well, I think with this particular client, what we did was just kind of review the behavior and not to even label and tell her what you did was wrong and let me tell you why, but well, let's talk about what you did and how do you think it had impacted your life. Get the client to just kind of share what led to that kind of behavior. What do you think has happened to you since then? And what are you going to do differently? What have you done differently? Kind of guiding them that to let them know the behavior was wrong, but what are you going to take the responsibility to change and do differently, so that you don't put yourself in that at risk again, because another challenge may pose itself. But you are the expert of your life, so you need to tell me, how are you going to change your behavior so that you could protect yourself?
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Croskey, are you seeing more older people trending now than you may have seen in the early parts of your career, that they're dealing with these issues, whether it's drinking, whether it's eating, whether it's other destructive behaviors?
Actually, I'm having more younger people deal with the drink, the drug issues, the more destructive behaviors than the older population. Our young people are having a very difficult time dealing with life issues. Really finding themselves just moving more to drinking, smoking more of the marijuana, and particularly now, since if you have a medical condition, is an emotional condition, you can go to your psychiatrist, and if your psychiatrist is makes the assessment that medical marijuana would be helpful to you, I'm finding more and more patients going over to using marijuana. So I don't see.
Wait a minute.
Let me ask
Wait
you
a
a
minute,
question,
Sister Croskey. Wait a minute, Sister Croskey. So you telling me and Sister you, Dr. Croskey, so you telling me you and Dr. Martine around here writing prescriptions for medical marijuana are the people running to the grocery store after they do the medical marijuana, because it's a known factor that you get the munchies afterwards. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to bring us back just a bit. Are you saying that medical marijuana is being used to treat depression specifically? Because I thought I heard
medical marijuana is used to treat depression.
Anxiety.
What I am saying that, because one of the questions kind of came up about the use of substance during this time when people are experiencing the impact of the pandemic, and even dealing with the situation with Mr. Floyd, that they have moved to give themselves comfort to be able to treat what they're feeling right now, that sense of rage, that sense of loneliness, that sense of depression, whatever they're feeling, they're moving toward using, drinking more. If they drink alcohol, drinking more of it. If they, from time to time, smoke marijuana, they're smoking more of it. So,
these are ways to escape, Sister Croskey?
It for that purpose.
People trying to escape.
Yes.
And numb.
And numbness. Yeah, we want to numb what we're feeling, even if it's just temporary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a question in the chat. It seems that small occurrences are now making me feel down. What tools can I use to snap myself out of it?
Thank you for the question. Awesome question.
So
small events, occurrences.
Say that again.
Can you repeat the question, please?
It seems like small occurrences are now making me feel down. What tools can I use to snap myself out of it?
Well, I think we have a lot going on, and if we kind of take them apart and kind of put them in boxes, it's really looking at what specifically is getting you down. We got to put it in a tunnel where it funnels down to something small and tangible that you could really look at and say, this is exactly what I'm feeling, and I need to address it. But we have to know what it is. So if it's watching CNN and watching the news every night and seeing certain things that are happening, and that's the kind of thing that's getting you down, then watch ABC News at 6:30 and you're done. And you got your half hour of news and that is it, instead of waiting till the next time comes and you're watching the whole evening and all it's doing is really pulling out these emotions out of you. If you sometimes it's really helping others. I think one of the things that has helped me was the LOLs, doing more. I love that list,
Yes.
Pastor, that you guys sent out, that it was 32 of them. So I couldn't say, well, what can I do? Which one, what I could pick one. And the other thing was that, I could send $40 for 3 of them. And I know that I was LOing 3 different people or projects, and doing for more for others is a way to really kind of make yourself feel better about yourself, because many people don't have, but we have. No matter what the amount is, we have more than other people. Somebody's always worse off than we are, and I think that's what we have to maintain in our thinking, that I don't have A, B, C, D, but somebody else don't have A to Z. And so I need to appreciate what I have, work with what I have, and see what I have can I give to others.
So we got some new people on, Sister Dr. Croskey. I'm gonna let you take a stab at this. But before, we got some new people on. This is our first We Night Wednesday Empowerment, where we're gonna spend an hour together from 7 to 8, talking about different issues. Tonight, our focus is on mental health, and we have 2 of our members who are great people, Dr. Martine, Dr. Croskey, professionals in their own right who do this for a living. And so the question that was asked was,
There's another question here.
okay,
How do you
let's
approach?
let's just Dr. Croskey take a stab at that question.
Okay.
It seems that small events occurrences are now making me feel down. What tools can I use to snap myself out of it? Dr. Croskey, what would you suggest?
I think that in addition to what Dr. Martine has expressed, I would suggest that what happens is that once you become overpowered with a situation like the pandemic, the situation like Mr. Floyd's death, any little situation becomes unnerving for you, begins to impact things that you used to you had no problems handling, no matter how minor it is, becomes monumental. So what I like to tell people to do is to, watching television, it seems as though we can't remove ourselves from the television to see the news, to see what's happening. So we're just following it moment by moment. That can become over too much stimulation. So you need to turn off your television, do some reading, do some games with your children, call some relatives and just find out how they're doing. As Sister Martine has said, think about some Love Out Loud projects, something that will divert your attention from this thing that seems to consume us. So that's something that I can suggest that we do at this immediate time that all of us can do.
Oh, and exercise to get physically fit. I'm so behind on my steps, by the way.
Yes.
Praise the Lord. I went bought me a bike. I had to go find.
Walmart doesn't have any more. Walmart ran out.
So I'm trying to ride every morning. This morning I got a little lazy, but I'm gonna jump on it first thing in the morning. I'm trying to do 4 to 8 miles a morning. Most of the time it's 4.
Wow. Okay.
Praise the Lord.
All right. We got another question.
Okay, here's this question. How do you approach loved ones who are demonstrating destructive behaviors who may need professional guidance?
Well, one of the challenges is that you can't make somebody go for help. You could ask them, you could refer them, you could recommend, but until that individual is ready to accept a referral, to talk to someone, it's a challenge to get them there. I think just starting to just being supportive and just highlighting what is the behavior that is concerning you as a parent or as a friend or coworker. This is what I'm seeing. I'm worried. I'm concerned. Use the language that will really express that I don't like what is happening with you. I don't like what I'm seeing, and I'm worried about you. I'm concerned about you, to show that you care. And I would recommend, or would you be open to, again, using our language to just kind of guide this individual to saying, you know, I don't have a problem, but I'll go talk to somebody. And we're not labeling or telling them they have a problem, but we're expressing concern about something specific that we are seeing that is concerning.
And I think one of the things that I think we can do with someone who does not see the importance of seeking intervention, what works sometimes, if you can have that person come with you. Why don't you go with me? I'm going to go see my therapist today. I need to go see my psychiatrist. I just want you to be there with me. So they can go with you. They can sit there. You can have them, you sign the appropriate documentation, so it's legal and okay for them to be in the room with you. And you can really talk with your therapist. You can speak with your psychiatrist. That person can be there, and they can see that, oh, I can do this. That's what it's all about. I kind of like this. And that's I call it the backdoor approach to moving a person into therapeutic intervention.
Now, Sister Croskey, I think that what we talked about stigmas, and I like what you described as the backdoor approach, but what do you do? How do you address people who have the attitude, I don't want them in my business. I don't want to share my business.
What they gonna teach me?
Well, we're faced with that quite a bit too. So if you have someone who feels that I don't want them in my business, that's none of their business, how can they help me? Actually, the only thing you can do with individuals like that is to continue to gently speak with them. If there's someone else that their family may know that is more influential with them, then of course you would want that person to try to talk with them. But it's not a lot that we can do from our end if someone have feelings as strong as that. You really can't do anything. Only time that we can do any type of intervention if a person is exhibiting some behavior that gets to be put them in danger or put someone else in danger, then they can be forced to go into treatment. But of course, that's the last thing that we want to do.
Right. And that's a question. It leads me to a follow-up question. What if you're living with someone who refuses to get help, but what they're doing and how they are in your household is affecting you?
Okay, so when we're talking about what they're doing and what are the behaviors? I mean, if we're saying they are dangerous to you and to the individual, is it at a point that we need to call 911, and at a point where we're all scared to dial 911 right now, right? But if it's because the behavior is to a point where this person is going to hurt me or hurt themselves, then we need to do the right thing and to call 911 and explain what is this behavior that is that I need help with. Or if you are able to get this person to walk into a doctor's office, and because I think Dr. Cross was talking about being Baker Act, where we are signing saying this person is danger to themselves and to others. So we need the police and the EMS to come and physically restrain them and take them, because that is what it's going to look like. So if we are concerned to that level and there is the word danger and hurting involved, then we need to do the right thing and contact contact the authorities, contact EMS to just come and help us manage this person until they get to the right setting to get the help that they need.
Now, because when we started this, I think you both made the point that we all get depressed. We all have feelings when we're sad or down. And what if you're living with someone or you're in a relationship with someone, particularly in these pandemic days, where they're still functioning with their whatever it is that they're dealing with, but you being in relationship with them, it's affecting you. Maybe it's affecting your mood now because you're concerned about them, or it's affecting your mood because you're seeing that they are running to a bottle or to a joint or something like that. And while you can't make them get help, and they're not at the point where you need to call the authorities in on them, but it's affecting you because you're watching and you're in a relationship.
Right. Then you start with you. Then you go for help, because the behavior that you're in the same household, so you are going to be affected. You're seeing it, you're smelling it, you're going to become a part of it. Then you go for help to help you understand, how do you manage what you are feeling? How do you address when certain behaviors are right in front of you, and you are the one who's getting the end result in terms of becoming depressed, or at a point you want to drink with them, at a point you want to smoke with them, because the environment will have to change. And that's a conversation that it may lead to, well, if it sounds like it's not safe for you to be there, what are your options? Well, I don't want to leave him. Okay, but if you stay, what will happen to you? If you stay, how you think you could have managed and addressed what is happening? And those kind of conversations starts to evolve.
So we've got another question, and we only have about 9 minutes left, so this probably is going to be, it depends on how long you all deal with this one. If this may be the last question, it may not. As somewhat of an introvert before shelter in place, how will I adjust myself to being around others again without the anxiety?
That's a question. That's an question. You're saying the person was somewhat of an introvert?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, being an introvert and then coming back out again, I would suggest that the person just slowly began to integrate back into their social life, their workplace. They're going to have to go directly back into that once the jobs open up, so they don't have a choice. But in terms of getting involved with your groups or other activities, is that you slowly start integrating yourself back into them. Would be the approach that I would suggest that someone use.
I would also add that to give yourself time. There's no time limit that you have to say, I have to get back out there and start talking to people. It could be that you call that one girlfriend or one good friend and just start talking on the phone and meeting up somewhere with our mask on to have a cup of coffee or go to the library. But is to just take your time and allow yourself to feel that, I don't want to see 3-4 people at once, but I'm okay to just see one person. And like Dr. Croskey said, we have to go back to work. We're going to be back in the workforce. But if you were not one to have lunch with everyone anyway, you should be okay, because you'll probably still have lunch at your desk. And now they took away dining rooms anyway, so there's nobody congregating having lunch. But you'll see everybody on a Zoom, because that's a new way meetings are being held. So physically, you won't see that individual, but you'll see them on other IT forms in terms of Zoom and the other meeting networks. But it's really to just understanding that this is who I am, but give yourself time and no pressure.
I wanted to I know we only have a few more minutes left, but I would like if you could both just kind of weigh in. We've been talking broadly about depression, feeling anxious, and lots of different things that we may be feeling. Can you just speak briefly about children and how we may observe that in children and how to handle that while we are sheltering in place and we have young people around us?
Now, question specifically to how to deal with children as it relates to the pandemic or all of the situations that we're experiencing right now. often ask that question because parents are very, very concerned about the impact of all of this on their children. And what I share with parents is that we need to talk to our children about what's happening. They need to understand it. However, I think that we have to have age appropriate discussions with our children, so that they understand the pandemic situation, that they understand the racism situation that we're experiencing, and I think that they need to do it. And I think we have to do it in such a manner that they can understand what we're talking about. So you have to share it with them. I think that we need to, when we're talking to our children, particularly, I think with the racism piece, I think that we have to also help them to understand the historical perspective that's relative to racism that we're experiencing right now. So, because you can't just give it to them in just one piece. They have to understand, how do we get here? How did all of this start for us? So that they can understand, starting from one place to getting to where they are now, and so that they can learn how to deal with it, because they will be experiencing it and will continue to for some time.
I am constantly reading about and trying to prepare for on the other side of the pandemic. And I'm constantly reading, and then other clergy persons are calling me, Pastor, what you think? White, what do you think? Everything I'm hearing is people are going to be very apprehensive about entering back into sanctuaries for all of the reasons that we talked about. Can you talk about, from a professional standpoint, how we can help? I know we're working on a plan of not only sanitizing, but communicating. We're not in a rush to get back into the sanctuary. But can you talk about and help people understand it's okay to have those feelings, and it's okay to be virtual and not be any less of a Christian? Once we do gather physically, they can still be virtual members and be okay with that. Can y'all address that? I mean, almost like our last little point.
I think for me, I think I had used the term of the new normal, and what does that mean? For me, when I'm trying to get this definition together, the new normal really is doing the same thing but doing it differently. So if we are worshiping virtually, and I'm sitting in my living room with a cup of coffee and my mother-in-law is next to me, we are sharing the same experience as if we were in the sanctuary. I can't bring my coffee, but sitting there, we are worshiping, we are singing, we're enjoying the praise dance, and we are still worshiping God. She's anxious to get back to the sanctuary. She's used to brick and mortar. But I think for me and my generation, we could do either one, and neither one of them is wrong. So, as we slowly open up, we just have to look into ourselves in terms of, what am I not afraid to do? If I'm concerned about going back into the church, well, the pastor said I can still worship virtually, and that's okay, and not feel guilty about it.
Dr. Croskey?
Well, I think we have those, we have members who are really committed to a building, as I say, and want and feel comfortable being in a building. Personally, I love the virtual experience. I feel that I'm not getting anything less from it. So I really try to encourage people. I'm reaching out to my friends while we're in service. I'm telling them to get on now. And I'm having people giving toward the church, wanting to be more a part of us. Because I think, for me, it gives us an opportunity to reach that population that will never come into the church, will never come into the walls of a building, a structure. But you want them to feel that God exists no matter where you are. Us. And that if we don't ever go back to a building, we still can serve God.
That's right.
And that's the approach
Absolutely.
that I, when I'm speaking with people.
Well, let me, we want to thank both of you for your time, your knowledge, your wisdom, your nuggets you have dropped, and you're helping people. Persons have been sharing in the chat how good this is. So I want you all to know people are being tremendously blessed, not just here in South Florida, but all over the world. And then people will also be able to go back and share this in the podcast kind of experience because it'll be on YouTube. Reverend Maria?
I'm just grateful for this time. Like I said, I was looking forward to it, and I was truly blessed by it. I thank you, both my sisters, and I want to thank God for everyone who has joined us tonight. Remember that we will be here on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
For our Wednesday
Empowerment.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you again. We look forward to seeing everybody this Sunday, 7:30, and the 10 a.m. worship experiences. As you know, immediately following both worship experiences, we both gather together on the sermon chat, taking your questions. Start a new series called Becoming. I'm praying that my pretty preaching partner get all the injury reserve because I've been on the wall for 12 weeks in a row, and so we're grateful for you. And
thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. My Vini Sosa. Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr.
All right. Good night. Thank you so much. It was an awesome experience.
Thank you so much as well.
My pleasure.
All right.
Pleasure.
Let's have a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for this day. God, we ask that you would use these nuggets to speak to someone's heart today, know that they can have Jesus and a therapist, that they'll seek mental health counselors to help them unpack all that they're going through. And we thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Everybody have
All
a
right.
great
All right.
evening. Thank y'all so much.
God bless you. God bless you.
Good night. Thank you.